Picture this. Your party's hundreds of feet below ground, either in a dungeon or in the Underdark. You have all the supplies you could have been want for, have been finding spoils left, right and centre, and are on high for more adventure when you hear your DM say this. You hear a chittering ahead in the darkness. Slowly push forward, looking to ambush whatever lurks in there. The fighter draws her hammer and embraces her shield, leading the pack an iron guard for the party, head to toe in armour. With your dark vision, about 25 feet away, you see a flat propeller-like tail with a bulbous hide and two long feathery antennae as it turns towards the group, as if sniffing the air. The fighter charges, the monster screeches. They meet halfway and the monster makes for a bite attack at the fighter, narrowly missing. The party get in position at a distance, the fighter deflects another blow with her shield, readying herself for another push. Then, she notices her shield. Half it's now rusted and flimsy. The DM says, your AC has been reduced by 1. The party reacts with a Pikachu face. The fighter screams, run away. That party just encountered the most terrifying monster in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm talking about the Rust Monster. The Rust Monster predates Dungeons and Dragons, as this was a monster Gary Gygax came up with to use against his players in Chainmail, the precursor to D&D. He came across a cheap knockoff bag of toys, and he decided that he wanted to basically take these toys, these weird monsters that were created by whatever manufacturer, and he wanted to throw these against his players because there was something he'd never seen before, and he could just basically make up abilities for them. And so we have the Rust Monster. A Rust Monster is a medium monstrosity, CR half with 40 feet of movement. More on this soon. They have dark vision and 2 unique abilities that no other creature in the 5th edition Monster Manual has, being Iron Scent and Rust Metal. Iron Scent allows the Rust Monster to locate ferrous metal within 30 feet. For those of us who didn't do engineering or science in school, ferrous metals have iron in them, and non-ferrous are seen as the most precious metals, so Rust Monsters won't go for players with gold or platinum. They want long swords or hammers, and they can still eat non-ferrous metals, they just prefer ferrous metals. And now, to the crux of the beast, Rust Metal. The Rust Monster's Rust Metal ability is the 3rd most terrifying aspect of the creature. Any non-magical weapon that hits the creature gets a permanent and cumulative -1 penalty to all damage rolls. This, as I mentioned, is cumulative, so it stacks until the weapon gets to -5, whereupon it is destroyed. And non-magical metal ammunition like arrows or bolts or bullets that hit the monster are destroyed. But for calculation's sake, those negatives are applied after damage has been calculated from the attack. Now, for the 2nd most terrifying trait of the Rust Monster, its antennae. To be clear, I will use the wording verbatim. The Rust Monster corrodes a non-magical ferrous metal object it can see within 5 feet of it. If the object is being worn or carried, the touch destroys 1 foot cube of it. If the object is being worn or carried by a creature, the creature can make a DC 11 dexterity saving throw to avoid the Rust Monster's touch. I wanted to be clear on that because oh how arguments have been started over those sentences. I'm sure friendships have also ended because of those sentences. Do you know how much armor can be destroyed in a 1 foot cube? A lot. And speaking of armor and shields, anything that's touched by the Rust Monster get a permanent and cumulative penalty until their bonus is 0 or the armor is reduced to an AC of 10. Now, if you're wondering if those weren't the scariest aspects of the Rust Monster, what is? Well, this little beastie can do all of the above while moving at a pace of 40 feet per round. That is just fast enough to be faster than your players. You're almost forcing your players to fight it, but in that lies the curveball. If your players think for a moment about what it wants, they can give up the lesser valuable items to try and distract it. Make use of all the swords and goblin rusty bits that the horde or of a rogue has been carrying around to sell, or get rid of that metal statue they thought was worth something. It also changes the dynamic of your encounter, as the Rust Monster, though terrifying to material or martial players, is not that good in melee. Yes, it does 1d8 plus 1, but it only has a plus 3 to hit, and an AC of 14. This means that spellcasters who would normally be at the back can bust out their touch attacks or tactically space out and end up attacking with their ranged spells while using the ironclad cleric or fighter as bait. Druids and monks will dominate in this fight because, yeah, they'll have fun. So instead of just your players doing a full-on brawl attack like they may usually do, it forces them to think about what's going on and to keep their cool while this skittering corrosive critter harasses them. There is one portion of the monster manual entry that I do want to specifically talk about, as I think it could be a memorable way to introduce rust monsters into your game. The last line of the entry states, if they are well treated and well fed, they can also become friendly companions or pets. This is contrary to previous entries stating that rust monsters almost become mindless when in the vicinity of metal, where they must corrode the closest metal object and do so with an indomitable will. But I would instead encourage you to add Farquaad, the rust monster, and his owner, Orgroth Mudmane. Orgroth is a smith, and many of his offcuts that aren't used are consumed by Farquaad. Orgroth, being a smaller medium dwarf, uses Farquaad as his mount on his travels through the Underdark or between dungeons, and Farquaad is very well behaved as he was raised by Orgroth. But roll a 1 on an animal handling check and say goodbye to that nice piece you were working on. I'd have the players meet Orgroth and Farquaad at the entrance of a dungeon or near a dwarven citadel or hold, not necessarily being allowed in due to the risk Farquaad bears. But Orgroth raised him, he's not going to leave him out alone in the wild. Be sure to add those as NPCs in your game just to liven it up. What creative way could you use a rust monster? Do you think they're cute? Do you want one for your mount too? Talk to your DM about it. So there you go, those are rust monsters, the monster that can make any party at any level panic. Since you made it this far, I would appreciate it if you clicked the like button or subscribed for more of these. Maybe you can play maybe you play a monk and you want to be mean to the other PCs in your party. If so, send this to your DM, and while you're waiting for that message, you can watch this video of Lordsoth. Tell me, who would win, a rust monster or a Gorgon? Let me know in the comments. Right, leave it to it. Bye.